SKT is going to lay down the hammer here in the knockout stage and show that they are truly the champions of MSI, or at least the favorites going into the finals. Crepo, which side of the fence do you land on here?
I mean, I think I'm going to combine both these great points from these
of MSI, or at least the favorites.
Wow, SKT gives away a lot, and they were actually vulnerable. They had two Baron steals given away versus W as well. I just don't think they do the same thing in the bracket stage where they get angry, they over-prep. There's no way their drafts will be as generous as they were in group stage, and they will prep much harder. And for that reason, I will also say 3-0.
All right, well, a lot of faith here for SKT winning it all. And the number of games, that's up for debate. Time now for us to send it over to the casters to get us onto the Rift.
Hello everyone and welcome to our first semi-final match of MSI 2017. I am Julian Pastry Time Car, and joining me for today's games is Chris, Papa Smithy Smith, and Joshua Jack Leesman. Gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Semifinals, it's been a long day off. Love to see how we know that SKT is an overwhelming favorite, but it's cool to see in the semifinal matchup a team that is 4-2 against them all time.
I mean, that's a big thing. There is only 2 teams that actually have a positive record since the start of 2015. It's the Afrika Freaks, who somehow as an org always get it done, whatever the roster, and the Flash Wolves on the international stage. So if they are actually able to put past the Flash Wolves, it'd be another kind of thing in the war chest for SKT.
Well, before we jump into game one, let's check out our starting rosters. On the blue side, it's SK Telecom T1. In the top lane, Huni, Jungler, Peanut, mid laner, Faker, bot laner, Bang, support Wolf, and behind them, Coach Koma.
And on the red side, it is the Flash Wolves now in the best of 5 against SKT. We got MMD in the top lane, Karsa in the jungle, Maple the mid lane, Betty and Sordot the bot lane with Coach Steak.
And I do love that every game has to start with the champ select, because I think that's the obvious jumping off point here. One of SKT's
any good inherent synergies, and they were punished for those things in the group stage. But like Crepo pointed out on the analyst desk, I think that will change for the bracket stage.
And of course, SKT, because they have the runs on the board, deserve those high expectations. It's easy to say generic drafts when they've come back in the bracket stage so frequently and made things happen. So we give them the high expectations because of their wins.
Well, the rain has come through and a storm is brewing here in the Jeunesse Arena. Here's pick ban for game number 1. SKT did select blue side here, and they'll start with Zyra and Syndra as their bans. Flash was on the other side, Twitch banned away from Bang, and Kennen away from Huni.
Yeah, and for Flash Wolves, this is not too different than their bans against SKT in the group stage. The Kennen was banned against Huni in all games, the Twitch was banned against Bang later on, and the question will be whether or not they ban Fiora against Huni, because that was a blind pick champion that Huni pulled out against Flash Wolves in their first match.
Now, something I want to point out is that SK Telecom has not banned LeBlanc. In every game they played in group stage, they banned LeBlanc on blue and red side. Faker hasn't played it this year, even though it is one of his most famous picks. Flash Wolves have actually only ever banned it once, and now as the time ticks on, they wonder, would they actually first pick it? Would SKT show the LeBlanc early in the draft?
And with the Lee Sin ban and the Fiora ban coming through, we know that Lulu and Karma are both on the table. But specifically here, Papa Smithy and I were talking about this. We thought this scenario could happen where they would then pick Graves and dare Flash Wolves to pick the Lulu and the Karma, but they've opted not to, with Lulu as being the highest priority.
There are definitely teams in this tournament like SKT. You would never let them draft on the red side, both because they have Bang, because they are a team that have shown through multiple years they can play through the AD carry role. We don't really expect that from Flash Wolves, but regardless, they have first picked the Lulu, so picks like the Lee Sin, which were banned away, are interesting. And the Ivern that Karsa hasn't played this tournament. He's been playing in solo queue. He's flashed it. It's a best of 5. We could still see it.
Instead, Karma Graves are their first pickups, but I do like that little bit of flair for maybe a mind game there as SKT move over to their next 2 picks of this draft.
Yeah, and now with Graves and Lee Sin off,
well, there you go.
He does it.
That's the next natural jungler. A lot of teams will put Ivern above it, and if there is a team that would do it, since SKT have the ability to carry out of any lane, the Ivern theoretically fits SKT better than it would the Flash Wolves.
But it's a new SKT again. Peanut may go through jungle tier list, but it was always the jungle fighter tier list. It was always Elise being mixed up in this scenario with the Lee Sin gone. It's a very different style comp, and also a very early draft of the Caitlyn. Twitch is, of course, the comp they would want to run with the shielding, but they're going to go for the Caitlyn this spot.
And thinking about the game Flash Wolves beat SKT, that was when Bang was on Varus, got early kills, but was unable to convert that. Now with the Caitlyn and also having Lulu and Ivern, if Bang is to get ahead, it is incredibly difficult for Flash Wolves to turn that around.
Well, there's the Ashe pick for the Flash Wolves. They do want to take an ADC here, so they will. Now we'll move into our next ban phase. And the thing I love about this from SK Telecom, not just that it's very strong and it's kind of a new thing they haven't showed too much of, Faker can also play Lulu mid. It is unlikely, but the sheer flexibility this team has in draft is exactly why it's hard to play them.
And my excitement is scrutinizing Peanut's Ivern, because his Ivern jungle popping, the first time we saw it play, it was his first competitive game on it, was pretty poor, honestly. It seemed like very much a new pick for him, where he's picking up in scrims recently, so I want to see what sort of adaptations he makes, because we've seen so much Ivern and very little overlap in Ivern routes so far this tournament.
I agree, and Peanut's Ivern was not very strong. With the second phase of bans coming through, you wonder how the rest of the team compositions are going to float in. What's interesting here is the fact that Fizz flex pick wasn't taken at all by Flash Wolves. They would rather not have Betty being banned out instead of having a flex pick Fizz.
And amusingly, Syndra was banned on blue side, so honestly the obvious flex is into the Syndra as a blocker, or to open up Syndra like the Flash Wolves were able to do last time these two teams met. Okay, ban the Syndra, remove that possibility. Again, the tantalizing pick for me is the LeBlanc that so far is not being looked at, and again, you just wonder, will they bring it back? Because we know Faker is a god of LeBlanc.
Well, Rumble banned by SKT, so top lane is kind of being taken here if you think about that. Fizz maybe going there as well. Galio Lucian's kind of cute for Flash Wolves, so also looking at Hootie, and of course, I think just moving the Lucian out of the game, we'll see if that develops at all in this series. Flash Wolves, though, looks like they do want to tank MMD, may opt for Nautilus here.
And this would be a little surprising to me with Gragas still being on the board and really being seen as a stronger tank. That's something Hootie could absolutely match with if he wants to, and even Shen is still on the board, who does end up getting the advantage in the split push around 2 or 3 items. So I don't think the strongest pick right there from Flash Wolves, but it's trying to set them up for a counter pick in the mid lane.
Now we get the answer on the mid lane question. It could still be the Lulu. The Orianna's still available.
Yep.
I haven't been convinced with a lot of the Orianna drafts we saw, especially towards the tail end, the second round robin of group stage. Sure, they have a ball carrier here definitely in the Shen, but this is a very low damage comp from the side of SKT. It's very focused on Caitlyn, even if Orianna 4,000 ELO shockwaves are possible from Faker.
Well, my question was, does Maple just say, all right, the gauntlet has been thrown, LeBlanc has been left open the entire time, is he just going to take it here?
To some degree it was left open, but the thing to remember, Pastry Time, is the first pick was Lulu that we've seen lane very well into LeBlanc, so it's kind of a blocker until SKT committed on a mid laner, and now it's Orianna. You do kind of have the latitude to run the LeBlanc, to try to play the 1-3-1, because late game, if these teams are all grouped up as 5, you have to favor protect the AD carry, and especially protect the bank.
Yeah, SKT's team composition has so much late game insurance, but they also have pretty strong early games in both the mid and the bottom lanes. Yes, LeBlanc can get going and almost feels to randomly snowball a lot of games if she can make it into the side lanes and get a bunch of kills, but Faker can shove that in early. The bottom lane can take the turret fairly early, and then it's going to be very difficult for Flash Wolves to punish in side lanes when they are up against the likes of Shen. So I am a big fan of this SKT draft overall.
But if Flash Wolves can actually get it going in the early game like they did in that final match against SKT, take some charge, force the 1-3-1 with only a Shen to react, and stop the Ivern getting camps, because of course he needs the time to prep, you could also see them overwhelming in much the same way they did last time on the Rift.
Well, it'll be fun to see the adaptation throughout the series, but a very safe draft from SK Telecom to start things off. I think on the Flash Wolves side, if you look at Castle, you look at Maple, the two we're always looking to go off. These are very proactive picks for them to really open up a game. So a lot of the things we thought were going to happen kind of eventuate here in the first draft.
Yeah, and something that SK Telecom's team comp lacks is a surefire way of initiating. They're basically hoping that Faker can sneak in a shockwave somewhere, or that Hootie can land an impressive flash taunt. This is a very common thing for SKT to do in team compositions, but if they are caught a little bit on the back foot, it is much more difficult for them to create openings.
Well, we're going to move out onto the Rift for the first game of our first semi-final. SKT will play the Flash Wolves for the first time ever internationally in a best-of-5. In game 1, going to tell us a lot. Flash was grouped together moving out. SKT found out nice and defensively.
And honestly, SKT's playstyle this tournament has been a little bit less than what I would expect in terms of style, because you look at some of their numbers as hopefully no one gets caught out in a brush like we've seen already this tournament, although Sword Art's walking in first.
Bang does spot them though, so it should be okay there. Going to move back towards Wolf and his turret. Ward does stay up for SKT, but Flash Wolves invading for vision.
Yeah, and this is Flash Wolves trying to disrupt whatever Ivern path Peanut would have. You always want to have some type of intel on Ivern, since it is a big mind game of whether or not he steals one of your buffs or goes for a full clear.
Was that very innovative path. Some would call it bad, but innovative path from Peanut the first time we saw them.
So, for context there, as Karsa is re-invading through the side, Peanut's jungle path.
Oh, still quick draw. He's actually going for a kind of faker. Forced to burn barrier. Betty gets some shots down as well. Faker probably not going to have to burn a sum, although Sword Art's still here.
It's really greedy to re-invade on the weak side where they already knew that multiple members of Flash Wolves were congregating. And okay, it's not Flash, but still, there is a penalty for Faker walking in so assertively.
Yeah, extremely often you actually see the team ward and then retreat instead of ward and stay. And this then triggers Peanut to try and start the red buff. So any type of pre-planned route Peanut would have, which he did not do a good job of pre-planning his route his first time on Ivern, is going to be mixed up. He had to smite right away on red buff on the alternate side.
But it's like kind of a next level, because the reason why I imagine Faker showed himself was to actually allow Peanut to go for this red side steal, judge how many people were going to be on the bot side, and sure nothing happened. So right now, Peanut has been guaranteed 2 buffs, so at least that part of the situation is happening.
Yeah, I agree with that, but also with the way that Ivern needs to wait about 40 seconds for his camps to be able to be cleared, there's a chance he gets denied the Raptors he spent his resources to take. Notice how Karsa has directly run over towards the Raptors. This puts Peanut in a deficit early on in the game. Raptors are the most valuable camp. Karsa gets both, and also there are resources burned by Peanut to start that camp.
Really smart start from Flash Wolves. Peanut actually going to recall as well after make that blue. Actually now, bottom line, Wolf in trouble. He'll force the burner. Shorter wants it. Flash orders, but can't get the kill now. Betty cutting back on the bangs. He needs a few more autos. Bang. Flash is in. That's first blood for SKT.
Insane amount of aggression already straight up in the 2v2, knowing there were no junglers in the same quadrant. Dashes in for the headshot. Does bang, and already a kill in the 2v2.
Now mid lane, Maple actually going to force Faker's flash. Does get the chain. Karsa was ready to jump on that play.
Yeah, and I feel like that's an insane amount of greed in the bottom lane by Betty and Sword Art, trying to make a big play in a matchup where they feel they are disadvantaged. The Caitlyn getting a few kills is all SKT need to do to win this game entirely. So to go so aggressive with the risk of that coming back to haunt you, Flash Wolves pay the price.
We're looking for the first moments of why this happened. Level 2 is hit first by Flash Wolves, but level 2 also is counter hit, and all the resources used on Wolf, including Flash for an ult attack that was never going to kill. Karsa's bot lane though.
No sums here, so they may have overstayed. Flash forward there. Wolf is going to be the target. There's damage back. Karsa finally grabs the trade.
Big by Karsa, he still has that lead over Peanut as Peanut is trying to get some counter jungling, and stealing the Krugs, in my opinion, is almost never worth it. A lot of junglers avoid killing the Krugs at the start of the game because they are such a huge time investment for such a low experience gain. So Karsa, I think, extremely happy about this opening.
I mean, the pathing from Karsa here has been so interesting. Enemy red into his own Raptors and then making it through the bottom side quadrant again, skipping over blue multiple times, the Wolves, the Gromp. He very much has had a purpose, and SKT overstaying with no summoners actually granted them an option to try and steady the bot lane that was looking like it could be very much SKT one-way traffic.
Yeah, and Karsa wants to get his 3rd Raptor camp of the game coming up at just after 4 minutes and 20 seconds because he knows those will be respawning in about 10 or 15 and was hoping to sneak in. Doesn't want to get over-aggressive, though, with his support in base.
Vision, though, Peanut actually taking down the Scribes. Bloom able to spot him coming out. Betty also doing the opposite for Flash Wolves, getting some vision with the Hawk shot. So great team play in this bottom half for both sides right now. Meanwhile, on the top lane, it's tank v tank, and unsurprisingly, they've just been pushing waves back and forth. I do like the Dawn's Blade from Huni, though. It's kind of showing off some of that trademark aggression.
Dawn's Blade into Tiamat as a possibility, but while we get a bit of breathing space, we've had an insane first 4 minutes for a best of 5 given the defensive drafts. You know, Jack, you were talking about the lack of initiation, which is very clear on the side of SKT, but if you look at some of their numbers, SKT's style hasn't been late game team fights that they perhaps have been famous for in previous iterations. Their average kill participation on the side of SKT is 55%, which for context, Flash Wolves is at 69%. So for there to be such a big disparity, it feels like setting up the 4-1 split push, and specifically Huni, has been the way SKT has played this tournament.
Exactly, and Flash Wolves are much towards your normal distribution of kill participation. SKT has definitely been an outlier in this tournament in the way they spread out the map. And this is one of the newer dynamics Huni has brought to the team in this tournament. He individually, as Maple tries to go onto Faker.
Faker does get chained up by Maple with Peanut there behind him to protect.
Yeah, Huni individually has the lowest jungle proximity of top laners, which is 4% of the time. Peanut is within 2,000 units of him within the first 3 to 50 minutes of the game. So he's basically doing this alone. And then he split pushes the rest of the game, having some of the highest CS numbers post 15 minutes and creating pressure in his own right. And that means that SKT is not actually engaging in 5v5 team fights. They are absolutely playing through Huni, making teams throw resources at him, and then winning elsewhere.
I mean, that has kind of been their strategy. Huni has the highest DPM of top laners, the highest share of gold mid lane.
Maple's in though. Carter actually already showed up. Faker now level 6. I think Maple tried to get it in before Faker got his ultimate, but Peanut, great respect there. Just babysitting Faker through this lane and making sure the wave got shoved.
That's why Engage, again, hasn't really been, it's been disengaged. It's been the 4 members disengaging while someone was split pushing. Even in that Flash Wolves game, it was Dilution, or it was, sorry, Bang, just split pushing on AD carry while the 4 members bot lane tried to give away the least amount while a turret was being taken. So it's been a surprise to see no pick comps from SKT, but that's just not been their style at MSI 2017.
Another invade here though from Casa does propel the plan forward. Red almost up, Casa gets vision down.
And this is dangerous, trying to do an invade against a team to level 6 Shen. So even if he tries to fight Peanut here, Peanut does have backup from the top lane.
Casa being patient, finally pulls the buff in. Peanut got the ward on the wrong spot. I don't think he saw the red buff go into the brush. Maple also joining down to help him, but this could be maybe a big moment. Casa though has smite, should be able to take it. Ivan has to mark the camp. Casa takes the red.
Karsa did that all right. The time that Peanut placed his Brushmaker into the red buff, he actually gained vision and tried to channel it. If he would have been able to channel for 2.5 seconds, he could have smoted away right away. But you do any damage to Ivan while that's happening, which Karsa did, you basically push him completely off the buff. So very well done by Karsa.
But I always smile when I see these scenarios with Peanut on the Ivern, because he's a guy who contests buffs. We've seen him steal so many Barons this tournament. Seeing him literally not have a kit to be able to contest realistically is kind of this sort of existential crisis for Peanut that he's never had to deal with before.
Trouble gets exhausted there after the polymorph from Wolf. Bang gonna keep moving forward. Does have sums back up. No all in, but again, the bottom lane playing so aggressive. SKT gonna win that 2v2.
Yeah, and this is sending Betty back to base way before he wants to at this point. He hasn't bought yet, but this minion wave can crash into the turret, and the last thing you want as Flash was for SKT to get that early gold lead because of first turret gold. That's why Karsa is actually spending a lot of time down here to make sure the wave stays pushed.
I think they were trying to set up a level 6 play, but good aggression from SKT is going to force the duo of Flash Wolves back as Karsa very neatly cleans that wave out from under the turret and hits a recall for himself. Other than that, triple Doran's in the top side for MMD versus that Tiamat, so lots of early wave clear for these top laners. And the early parts of that Morello Normicon, we've seen a lot of LeBlancs move away back into more traditional mid builds here. Not as many Gunblades and much more going kind of your standard builds as Betty actually going to transfer topside Flash Wolves. They went out of that lane.
Yeah, Bang's coming back with the BF sword after already having a pick-sack advantage. That lane is going to get worse before it gets better. And now Flash Wolves is initiating the swap onto SKT. It's most likely going to be given away the Ocean Drake when SKT wants, but more importantly, it's about who can race to that first turret fastest.
And it's informed by a couple of factors. The reinforcements going down at 5 minutes means they can actually trade a race when it comes to auto attacks. Not when there's so much AD onto Caitlyn, but you understand the thought. Also, it is the Ocean Drakes. It's one of those lower priority Drakes, so would they make the same play with a Mount or Infernal? We won't have that information, but I do like the idea of respecting the buys coming through from Bang and just opting out of the 2v2 that they've been losing.
Well, pressure now starting. Zone pretty far back, and Caster's also on this side, so Flash Wolves committing everyone to the strong side. And we're going to have a race for this turret. Maple not unlocked yet, but he's going to get onto Faker and landed. Shame, bit of damage there from the Q. Did not use the skill shot, but Daisy and 3 members of SKT are all going to help out, and that's first turret.
Yeah, SKT had such a head start because they already poked it down. Also, Daisy's tremendous in these scenarios because you get to tank turret shots with Daisy and also shield Daisy to keep her alive later. But Graves is no slouch, so I can see why Flash Wolves is willing to opt into this trade. SKT will beat them in this race, but there's a a chance they trade 2 for 2.
Gonna push through, but looks at things. Wolf does actually take some damage over the turret. MMD doing what he can to keep them off as he tries to get the minion waves with Riptide, but too much damage taken back here for the Nautilus. MMD can't stay without it being very unsafe.
Faker trying to go over to disrupt this. You can see how much extra time the Daisy bought them, and now Faker might try to disrupt later, throws the ball and lets him know he's there.
Can't commit too hard though, Pastry Time. That's why he's being so respectful. Faker has had some oversteps so far.
Maple went bot as well, but this turret should go down before he can get there. 2 turrets now for SKT. Just playing the trade a little bit better. Flash Wolves looks like they're going to stick around for at least one more wave.
I mean, tempo is so hard for Flash Wolves to evaluate, with Daisy tanking up basically enough shots for an entire minion wave, and also there being such a disparity in terms of AD between the two. So even with Graves doing more work, the tempo advantage for this split pushing was always there with SKT.
And you can see the cost of it. They're most likely getting it on this 3rd wave through, but the time bought means Bang and Peanut are chipping away on that Ocean Drake.
Yep, smite up of Peanut just in a few seconds, so it shouldn't be too difficult, and Flash Wolves aren't even close to the area to try and contest. So again, a very smart macro play by both sides with SKT, as almost always coming out on top.
And it's the next level part of it. I really like what Flash Wolves did, opting out of the 2v2, but then even though SKT were being reactive, they make the right call. They make the right map call. We've seen teams kind of frustrate us with inaction or poor reads. I mean, even as far back as G2 versus SKT, the first game of the tournament, we rued how G2 got ahead and then just didn't really know how to trade up when they were ahead. But SKT ahead, behind, making a smart map call at the start of this particular series.
Yeah, I would also actually like what Flash Wolves did there, because the bottom lane was getting worse before it would get better. So when you get a 2 for 2 turret trade and only give up the Ocean Drake, that's better than if Betty and Sword Art would have stayed in the bottom lane for another 5 minutes, because then you're losing 1 turret for 0 and also losing the Drake because of the control loss on that side of the map. So I think Flash Wolves make the best of a bad situation.
Of course, remove the chance of a dive as well. That was certainly a possibility. We still haven't seen Huni use the Stan United so far this game, so there certainly is a case for getting out while you haven't really been snowballed upon. And Bang, well, his go on the 80 carry dream. Doesn't need no boots, just got an Infinity Edge.
Yep, really strong right now for the Caitlyn. Bang should be able to get comfortably through this mid game. And if it accelerates, we've seen SKT consistently take over games in record time. Flash Wolves, though, trying to respond, leaving Betty towards that mid lane. Blade of the Ruin King shouldn't be too far away. And this is something that Maple can do that Faker really can't in this mid lane matchup. He's got TP and he's a LeBlanc. So much side lane pressure here for the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, late game fighting, if Bang continues to build crit items on top of the Infinity Edge and has all the shielding, Flash Wolves wouldn't have much of a chance. So for them to do something here before the 35-minute mark, they need to make things happen in the side lanes.
They got Bang! Oh, no, he's backwards, and that Sword Art going to root him down. Shot coming out from Benny. This should be a kill. Flash Wolves with the outplay forcing the fight, but here's Maple. Now onto Wolf, gets the chain down. So much damage. Second chain lands, and Flash Wolves come alive.
SKT accept the losses. Bang with a very rare mechanical misplay, going the wrong way. Neither of them used summoners. Wolf flashed preemptively and didn't have it. Bang accepted his fate, but that's a big win for Flash Wolves.
When is the last time we saw Bang 90 caliber net in the wrong direction? And not only did they get the 2 kills, but also they returned to the mid lane. So those are 2 costless kills for the Flash Wolves outside of the 2 ignites or the 1 ignite they use.
And it sounds kind of over the top to actually put the scrutiny on Bang, who has been so reliable, but he made some questionable arcane shifts forward on his Ezreal earlier this tournament, and then makes a straight up misplay in that area. So maybe the microscope has to go on at least a little bit. Maple trades up and even gets a 2nd kill. So Flash Wolves, they are ahead in gold, even if just by a small measure at 13 minutes.
Also gets a blue buff, so Maple feeling nice and healthy. Able to use that TP to finish off the back end of that play and takes down Wolf. Faker CSing well. Nice and even, just been playing safe and very respectfully this time around. Maple has tried to get aggressive, but Faker has been able to curb that for these first 14 minutes. Maple though, backing onto Faker. It's a tough one to try and match, but Maple is going to get the chain down. Doesn't quite get the latch, so no extra damage. Faker again, standing strong.
Yeah, he did manage to proc his passive though, so that's why Faker is down about half of his health. And also Maple's itemized a little bit more magic resistance in his build, so he's pretty happy about taking those trades on top of having his full corruption potion. So he will also out-sustain at this stage in the game. Maple pretty happy about that. If he ever gets the edge, he wants to make a roam.
We can see Flash was actually keeping 3 here to try and defend this turret. Good wave clear from Sword Art. Gonna get the back end with an empowered Karma Q. This is tough for SKT to really break, despite how strong the siege with Ivan, Kate, Lulu is. And Maple seems like he consistently has pressure in this lane. I mean, top lane's looking good for SKT, but they're haven't made really a risky play yet. There's no dive just yet with the Shen. And SKT is happy to play into Flash Wolves a little bit.
And I want the viewers to know that there's certainly an inevitability about late game team fights, but not necessarily about the game, because Flash Wolves do have a lot of tools to play the late game smartly. They still have a 1-3-1 that SKT will struggle to match, just not having the access to the teleport LeBlanc with Wave. They do have strong engage if SKT tried to play the 4-1 they played so frequently. So there is a lot of options in the Flash Wolves comp. It isn't just, well, the timer hit 35 minutes, the items are there, the game is over.
Pass on to Peanut, but Peanut root calls and gets his way out. Can actually block turn his way over and make sure he collects the Krugs on this side of the jungle. Again, Flash was just sticking to this top side for now. Maple feels like he's more than comfortable sitting in the mid lane wave clearing, but we might see a swap up as recalls come out, and all that damage Maple did was without his first major item really completed. So I think he's going to go back soon. He should have enough for Morellonomicon, and Blade of the Ruined King also being done for Betty means that Flash Wolves can start maybe playing with their lead a little bit more. Again, it's not a huge lead, but might be enough to really get something going, especially with that next Infernal coming up in a minute. Yeah,
Maple sitting on 2,000 gold, so a pretty generous recall is what he's able to get off right now. Picks up the Morellonomicon, and the Drake in 1 minute is definitely what the control is going to be about. Huni's level 11, very powerful Shen Shield. The amount of anti-burst that SKT has is absolutely immense, so it requires Flash Wolves to actually get off really good initiations. Carson needs to AoE and threaten multiple people at once, otherwise SKT can even turn it around at this point. Absolutely expecting a big fight around Infernal Gate.
Has to be pretty insane burst because Redemption is there, shielding is there, so the item timings are already being hit by SKT, so whatever it is from Flash Wolves needs to be decisive, because the re-engage after a Redemption is a big possibility for SKT.
Love the early ages from Peanut, as well as Flash Wolves moving to the area. SKT were first though, so they're able to clear out left side of River Vision. Here is Bang gonna get aggressive with Lulu behind him. Betty gets some shots back in, but that Infinity Edge gonna do overtime work here for Bang. SKT again, like they've always done, just moving perfectly through the objective, getting the vision down and kind of seeing what Flash Wolves want to do about it.
Yeah, and pay attention to Huni as well. He is Titanic Hydra shoving in MMD a lot, and he actually wants to stay kind of far away from him so that his ult and teleport don't get disrupted by the Nautilus. Any poke someone gets before the fight is also incredibly crucial, as this is a very close point in the game.
Maple looking for a pick, tries to find Peanut, does get some damage down, but used his ultimate. It's on a short cooldown, but Peanut is kind of low. Flash Wolves might have enough to move onto the Drake aggressively.
Certainly won't see a recall from Peanut here, won't use the Redemption either, so just has to kind of lick his wounds at 50% HP. We've already seen Shen start to move away. He now returns top lane.
Flash Wolves didn't see it, but Peanut just used his last charge of Smite. So if Flash Wolves do go into a Smite fight, they have a massive advantage.
Gonna be a while there for Peanut. About 60 seconds or so as Bang having to clear these waves back and forth. Flash Wolves again are trying to do everything correctly. Maple bottom lane getting mid priority, and Casa one hit onto the Drake. They are going to start it.
Have positioning on it. We'll see if there's any reaction from SKT. Baker's far away, so for now it looks like they might cede it, but SKT are moving up as 3.
He did it again. No, it's Michael. Has to be a fight. Bang, Aaron again. There's the Drake of it. A Flash Wolves. Bang, though. He's going to get out of Sword Art. Tries to root Peanut. Maple round to the side looking for a monster flank, but Oriana's right behind him. Caster and Betty still getting chased. Baker. He's going to get Sage United on, but Maple trying to get the damage down as Bang. Ace in the hole all the way over. Flash Wolves disengaged, but Maple is in uncharted territory.
Ace in the hole on the wrong target. That was the clone, actually, that was altered, so no reward there whatsoever. Maple will go on the grand chase and get away.
That was so well done by the Flash Wolves. The way they didn't over-engage as the Redemption comes out, the way that Maple stuck in the backside and actually caught Faker running over, never actually having to engage to get turned around by the Shen. They get the Drake as well as a pushing top lane as MMD catches up to Huni and CS.
Might even steal the blue buff, but Maple gonna have to get out of that one. Root Caller will not latch through for Peanut. Instead, he'll take the blue away. Faker will get the piece of candy and collect the buff for himself. But this is the kind of measured play we've seen around Objective and Flash Wolves when they beat SKT.
Measured play, controlled aggression, whatever you want to call it. Flash Wolves have done it in fits and spurts, but very noticeably against SK Telecom the last time out and in this game as well. They're being respectful, but also pushing when they need to. And that's a great sign that we might actually get a competitive best of 5.
Yeah, and also with Peanut pulling out this Ivan for the second time, having one of his worst games at MSI from an experience perspective. At 15 minutes, he was ahead of his opponent every single game in experience until this one where he was down a level to Carson.
I mean, how many times this year have we seen Peanut and Huni at 20 minutes into the game with bagels in every slot in the scorecard? That is absurd to me.
we did know that SKT picked a very conservative team composition that doesn't necessarily force fights. So a lot of this is the game plan for SKT. They obviously wouldn't want to give away Infernal Drake, but they're not trying to take any big risks, because wait until Bang has 2 full Zeal items, they set up shop in front of a turret and kind of dare Maple to try and make a play. I think that's what they're building towards, but it's actually pretty risky against a team that knows how to force objectives like Flash.
And it's just a game comp they haven't taken. Again, Peanut is the furthest away from an Ivern main I can imagine of competitive junglers, like when he was trying to walk up for a Smite Steal. Of course, impossible basically on Ivern, can't get the channel off. This is just not something that he's used to, so it does feel like that in some cases the execution is certainly not there, and it's surprising to see. Now, it is the first game of a best-of-5, so if you're going to try something new, it's a great time. But for now, the results have been up and down.
Yeah, and they're trying the 4-1 right now. Ivern is obnoxious in the mid lane, especially with Caitlyn and all the shields that they did want to set up shop, but interestingly enough, they're not actually sticking to it. They're respecting the LeBlanc flank pretty substantially.
There's an excellent flow of pressure in this game here, although actually a gank, no, not quite onto Huni. Flash will dip down and see what they can get done. I mean, we're really playing side lane versus mid lane right now. SKT are trying to bust down this mid turret and get the map opened up, and Flash will say, we have 2 TPs, we're just playing the side lanes and running you around.
SKT has to be respectful because they don't have vision on the blue side jungle of Flash Wolves, so they don't see members of Flash Wolves. Huni could be getting collapsed on.
Maple is around, but he does get ace in the hole by Bang, who is the biggest member of SKT right now. Turret is low, Bang shooting where he can from the brush, but Flash was maybe looking for something here. MMD blast cones over aggressively, trying to posture. Maple in as well. Arrow hits Bang again, as Maple dives through into Flash up from MMD, but Faker, 3 minutes over, but knock of a Bang gets exploded by Casa, and that's almost all the damage. Maple is going to move in now. Faker gets hooked by MMD. SKT fighting a 5v4 as best they can. Sorta takes a big chunk of damage. SKT looking to disengage.
That was a ton of damage into Bang right there. Doesn't use a seal, but that's because he thought he was going to be over-shielded. The fight continues.
Huni now caught by MMD, but the Polymorph is going to keep the Nautilus away, but now Hook planted onto Huni. Benny laying arrows into the back of Shen. Wolf just doesn't have any more protection, but Ivern does as he runs back to Peanut. Flash Wolves, though, what incredible target selection to just get 1 kill.
I mean, the target was so clear, everyone understood it, but the fact they could actually kill him through Command Protect, the Ivern Shield, the Shen Stand United, and also Wolf's suite of healing and shielding lets you know just how much damage they had to dump. It will get more and more as the game goes on, but 3rd time Bang's been hit by one of these Ash arrows, and the Wombo was clear from Flash Wolves.
Yeah, they get the Graves ult to actually get the last hit. All of the shields were used on him, and he was unable to stay alive. He is getting caught out too often with that type of front line. He cannot be hit by those Ash arrows, especially after using his E.
Maple in again. Peanut now going to be the one rooted up. Flash ball, but Maple has another long-range chain. This goes over into the Rebel Casa. Flashes instantly. The Flash Wolves alpha bot. Peanut dead.
Flash Wolves' aggression is really getting them advantages. Peanut thought he was safe, but Flash Wolves slipped in, hit that 2nd chain, which was the money one, and now suddenly this game's turned on its head.
And the key to Flash Wolves when they do beat SKT is that when they get those picks, they're able to convert them into objectives. So it's very critical that they're able to get something out of this, whether it's more vision control for later play or to actually open up this mid lane, which is so hard to do against that wave clear.
Been the holy grail of the game for both these teams, it feels like, but damage, chip damage is not enough on this turret. They do get it lower, but Maple has to go back to answer the side lane. TP is down for now, and again the push and pull starts. Betty finally misses an arrow, but the target once again was Bang.
And Bang cannot go. QSS needs to build damage. You can see a chalice into a Mikhail's will be coming through eventually, but he needs to build the damage. He doesn't have the latitude to go QSS and have more damage fall off, and thus he really needs to keep sidestepping these arrows until that Mikhail's is complete.
Big long lanes to play in as well. MMD has almost got the wave down to that bottom outer turret, but Huni is there to answer. Ultimate not quite up just yet, but he will have his teleport. So again, Flash Wolves need to respect all the globals on the map as it watches again. Maple, such great flanks already this game.
He wasn't spotted and got the 1st chain. The 2nd chain, though, was the one that really separated Maple from a lot of players. And Concha and Maple, they are the duo, and they were single-minded, and they picked up the kill on Peanut.
Yeah, gaining a lot of control in that side of the jungle. Ocean Drake will be up as of now, actually, and they're still setting up the split push because they can threaten both Baron and Drake theoretically at the same time. It's all about their level of deep vision and how much they can penetrate the jungle with Maple and Betty's vision.
And the overall tension in this game is just insanely high. I mean, the reason that Flashwolves can't get much more of a lead than the 2,000 gold they've now got is because the map is still so closed in the center. These mid-outer turrets are so low, and as soon as one breaks open, I think both teams can leap into action. And SKT, yes, they're behind, but you cannot fault this team at almost any stage of the game. And with this kind of comp, you can just see Bang, almost 2 items. Faker, now with 2 items. This is just getting scarier and scarier. And Flashwolves, they're playing proactively, but that needs to keep happening.
Yeah, and Bang will have to play better as this late game progresses. If they're going to have her protect the Caitlyn, he has to be in positions where they're able to protect him. Going to be tricky right now because SKT definitely doesn't look to be firing on all cylinders or being that crazy, angry SKT we may have expected from game 1.
I want to draw your attention to the fact that right now Peanut is 1,700 gold down on Ivan. Certainly a thing that can happen, but what the reality is, and one of the reasons why we only saw a single Ivan pick in Korea during the whole course of the LCK, there were a couple of bans, but only a single pick, is the big problem is when you fall behind, especially to a 1-3-1 comp, you don't get access to many jungle camps, which in a normal game are going to be shared between the jungler and the rest of the team anyway, and you can just fall further and further behind and not really be able to actually offer up much of a contest if you're Ivan.
Yeah, I feel like Peanut also just not comfortable on this pick. I think Ivern has proven to be a first pickable jungler and something that can work in almost every situation at this tournament, but not when you are channeling the wrong camps at the start of the game and not getting that early advantage where Ivern generally thrives. This is the second game in a row where Peanut did not have a good early jungle path.
And I think for once, SKT's incredibly high Drake priority might have actually cost them something they didn't want to give up. Flashwolves, they trade the Ocean Drake for that mid-outer turret, and yes, their mid-outer is also very low, but I was talking about the map being opened up, MMD getting pressure down, the TPs are starting to come back up. Flashwolves, they have a few moments in these next minutes to really bust the game wide open.
But the issue with SKT is they can't really force much. They don't have a comp that can force, so even if they're trading down in terms of effectiveness, as we see them actually taken out of mid lane.
Banger can get stunned up, but the arrows are there. Flashwolves fighting 2v3, 2v4 with Daisy in the mix as well. Flashwolves disengage it. Oh, could turn it back around. Faker does get the shockwave on the caster, but that's a cooldown burn as Flashwolves are collapsing. MMD coming in for the right-hand side. Maple looking for the flame join. He's going to flash it out. Maple getting in there, but there's the depth touch on. Bang does take out Sword Art. SKT may have just defended Maple. Getting a caught. He's forced to flash the sword away, but Faker chasing in. Needs one more order. Gets it now. MMD back with the blast code into SKT. Going to flash out of the way, but Faker going to keep chasing. Root Call lands from Peanut. MMD, he's tanky, but it's not enough. There's SKT with the team fight.
And listen, that's their way of forcing it. Throw down Daisy in the mid lane, and you force the other team to come to you.
Shut down from Bang.
This fight was so much better from Bang. Had to flash defensively, straight into basically melee range of a Karma, took her out, and then the target selection there, much cleaner. And you make that play at 27 minutes, and suddenly, Baron is a real objective.
Yeah, this is what we saw from the SKT draft. They needed to be able to withstand and not get starved out in vision by the Flashwolves. Flashwolves were hesitating for a second in the way they collapsed. They stick around a little bit too long in the mid lane and allow Bang to get out a lot of poke so that they can't all focus Bang at the same time. And now SKT in total control.
We get to catch this replay. So Bang is caught in the front line, but this time the shielding is early and is effective. They get Bang up to basically full health with the redemption. You can see Nautilus is coming up. LeBlanc is coming from behind, but the formation from SKT is strong. They finally get the slip onto Bang, but wait for the flash.
Yeah, Betty and Sword Art are actually out of this fight early, so Bang actually just flashes straight to killing Sword Art. There's no damage back up there, and Maple isn't actually going to burst someone through all those shields in a 5v2 team fight.
If Graves was grouped with Karma, maybe that's not a safe flash direction. Maybe he's taken out in the backline, but the fact that he could regroup with his front line, with his shields, meant that it was just closest target, front-to-back action from SKT.
And now, the impossibility of playing SKT is kind of here once again. It just doesn't really matter how far ahead you feel sometimes, because when this team starts winning, they just take everything off the map. And that damage tells a lot.
Yeah, when Caitlyn's the biggest number, you know that SKT almost certainly won a fight. So finally Bang got through the early hiccups. It's early here, it's 3 p.m. for gamers, that can be the morning. So he's getting through some of those jitters. It's back to the Bang we thought we would see, but certainly didn't hit the rift for the first 20.
Yeah, and he also goes QSS on top of having a Mikhail's from full. So they can cleanse multiple CCs, assuming they don't overlap. Flash Wolves doesn't want to let them set up. They're teleporting in with the block, trying to get that initiation this time.
Bang ulted up again, but the shield should be able to keep him alive. He's got no other stuns, but Maple trying to do damage on the other side. Wildgrowth burnt on Warp, but SKT just have too much strength here. MMD fighting in the middle, but Daisy's going to knock him up. Just too much here, so Redemption's going to heal him for a little while longer. Shield isn't enough to keep him alive. Peanut actually gets last hit credit, and now Bang just straightforward with the Lulu playing up.
And unless Flash Wolves is splitting SKT up, this 5-man team composition is immensely effective. You can see even with some of the catches and making Wolfald himself on Lulu, Bang's still full health and pushing forward.
It's also very optimistic to actually choose the time to engage, which, as you say, is not necessarily the best route to play when the Baron buff is being written by SKT. They already have it, they're already putting it to good use. That's the base broken. And SKT, after so many sidesteps, so much great play from the Flash Wolves, the result looks like it'll still say SKT 1-0.
They're not done, and Maple doesn't have his TP, so SKT are actually going to go for the Nexus turrets here. Carter gets caught out. That's a kill again for Bang. Hooney moves forward, tries to find Betty, but Betty's going to kite back. Stand United, though, going to keep Bang himself alive, and he's just laying shots into the back. Ace in the whole block by Sword Art Faker. Forces the flash with a shockwave. Nexus turret number 2 down as now the Nexus is exposed, and SKT in one fell swoop may well end this game. Maple polymocked up, dead to Hooney, as Hooney now get wild growth up so they can finish the rest of the fight. Betty is tickling the tanks in the front line, and SKT just will not be stopped. Sword Art trumped out into oblivion, and that's going to be game 1, SK Telecom.
It was over right when it started for SKT. As soon as they started pushing that mid lane down and committing to it with about 2.5 items onto Caitlyn, Flash Wolves was unable to mount the right answer. They seemed like they were in it because they were playing the side lanes and able to get a few kills on SKT, but that's the patience of SKT, knowing exactly when to pass.
And the history books will remember that SK Telecom won the first game, but certainly were behind for the majority of the minutes this game was played. And you wonder how this will sit with Flash Wolves, because on the one hand, you could take away and be like, all right, our early plan worked, we did some great things, you know, we were winning till we lost, basically. Or you could actually have felt up, you could have felt confident, and then had it ripped away from you so quickly. So how they play the next 15 minutes of game 2 is going to be really interesting, I think, but the context of this series for the Flash Wolves.
Right, because you could see